Dear learners, I welcome you all to this session Case Studies Perspectives from Different States, where we will be listening to the stories of the successful women entrepreneurs, their journeys, their struggles, their challenges, and most importantly, how did they overcome those challenges? What strategies they used? Either they themselves employed those strategies or the stakeholders, they got the support, they got the enablers from the different stakeholders in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. When it comes to women entrepreneurs, there are some famous well-known names. We all are familiar with those names, such as Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Falguni Nair, Radhika Agrawal, Upasna Taku, Richa Kar, Aditi Gupta, Ghazal Alag, and many others. And these names are associated with, you know, platforms, with enterprises such as Biocon, ShopClues, Nykaa, Zivame, MobiQuick, Mama Earth, Menstrupedia, and many more. We have, the list is never ending. And it all is enlarging, it is reshaping India's business landscape. In addition to these, we do have women entrepreneurs located in rural settings, trying their acumen, trying their potential in unconventional fields. So, and why do we call those unconventional areas, unconventional fields? Because they are thought so, they are considered as unconventional by the social norms, by the social setting. And what do we have? What do we need to understand here in this context? One more important parameter, that these women entrepreneurs, they are located in different social settings, and these social settings, they are what do we see, that each state, because the context in which these women operate, so the context is different, and each state has its own geographical, social, and cultural specificities, leading to differences in the range of ideas that women entrepreneurs can work on. So the state specific needs are to be identified, because here we are talking about developing the entrepreneurial ecosystem, creating the enabling space and creating an enabling entrepreneurial environment. So without taking into consideration the state specific, region specific constraints, region specific facilitators, because if you take the case of Andhra Pradesh, if you take the case of Tamil Nadu, or if you take the case of Rajasthan, or if we try to understand if we do the contextual analysis of northeastern states, we'll have huge variation, and those variations need to be considered, need to be accommodated when we are trying to develop policies, programs, or the non-state initiatives, non-state actors. If these actors are involved, then also we need to understand the context, and we also need to understand the people who we are going to frame these policies or these initiatives for. So this establishes the relevance of the initiatives taken up by the state governments and the role these initiatives can play in different regional contexts. So here, what are we going to do? We are trying to understand the case studies, and we have a number of such case studies, but obviously due to time constraint, we will be taking only few. But yes, these stories, these specific individual stories of struggle, of challenges, of issues, and then resolving those issues have significance, have, because they possess the potential to inspire others, and they highlight that they provide the distinct challenges, they provide the uh, narratives, and these narratives are actually lessons. So obviously we all can learn from those lessons, we can get inspired, and we can think about uh, what what are the possibilities, how can future be made bright, and how have women who sometimes had skills, who sometimes did not possess specific skills, or sometimes they are well educated ones. We do have those who are not at all educated, but still they have created their own space in this entrepreneurial landscape. So what we'll take the first case from the one of the southern states doing well in the case of women entrepreneurship, and it is Tamil Nadu. So here we will first take the we'll try to understand Tamil Nadu Rural Transformation Project and what the project is doing, and then we will try to understand how project is reaching out to the budding, aspiring women entrepreneurs. So there are many such efforts in different states such as Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Gujarat, West Bengal, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and many other states. But here we will take the case of this, as I said, Tamil Nadu Rural Transformation Project, and then we will be taking the stories of women entrepreneurs who got benefited by the project. This is a World Bank assisted project launched in 2017, implemented by the Department of Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, funded by both the World Bank and the government of Tamil Nadu. What does the project, what are its objectives? Why was it launched? So the project aims at rural transformation through adopting strategies that focuses beyond poverty alleviation by building sustainability and prosperity of rural communities. So most of the time we see that whenever we try to address the issue of rural economy, so it is restricted. Most of the time the focus is put on poverty alleviation programs, etc. Because this is considered as one of the most appropriate strategies, but here it is going beyond poverty alleviation. And what is it doing? The focus is more on building sustainability and prosperity, generating self-reliance among rural communities. And what kind of self-reliance? Self-reliance which is sustainable to a particular extent. And to ensure that the idea is to promote enterprise, access to finance, and employment opportunities. So enterprise promotion is something crucial, and obviously it has its role. So this Tamil Nadu rural transformation project, it touches the lives of many women in different villages. And what do we see? That here we are going to discuss the story of Nitya. So Nitya, ever since she became a mother, she is of 25 years old. When the story was reported at that time, she was of 25 years. So 25-year-old Nithya wanted to contribute to the family income to provide a better life for her children. So, now through these stories, we will be able to understand the contextual factors. We will be able to understand the social positioning. Where are these women situated, and what are the challenges that are emanating from their positioning? So, what do we find in this case? That opportunities for women appeared limited, as uh, you know in this particular area where she is situated. So it is seen that women usually remain at home and don't go out. So mobility, because mobility is one of the crucial factors, and mobility, access to mobility, or if there is constraint on mobility, then it acts as one of the decisive factors, either in promoting entrepreneurship or doing the other way around. So what do we see here? That through there comes a transformation in Nithya's life, and today she is the chairperson of a thriving masonry enterprise in the heart of her village. The turning point came when Nithya's self-help group, because so we saw that how the surroundings, the contextual factors, the norms, the social norms that are prevalent in a particular village. So how those norms are placing restraints on the woman. And then we come to the second thing, that is the self-help group and the role played by self-help group, because here she becomes member of a particular self-help group, and the group informs her about a masonry training program which is offered by a new community skills school established nearby. And this community skills school was set up under Tamil Nadu Rural Transformation Project. So what do we see? That self-help groups and the potential that these groups possess to transform, to bring small changes in women's lives. And we have a number of studies on the efficacy of self-help groups. So there is this very interesting study on 4 states, 2 southern states and 2 northern states, which is done by Francis Sinha, where the study is based on around 214 self-help groups, and their financial and their social performance is being studied here under this study, under this research. And these self-help groups are based in more than 100 villages of these 4 states. So what do we see here? That and not only this one, we do have a number of studies telling us about the functionality, about the performance of self-help groups. What are the factors ensuring the effective and smooth functioning of self-help groups, and then what are those factors which affect the performance of self-help groups in a negative manner. So we need to understand, because these self-help groups constitute the, we can say, one of the constituent elements forming the bedrock of women's entrepreneurship as well as women's self-reliance, economic self-reliance. So here what happens in Nithya's life, that she gets enrolled in this 20-day training course. Now she meets other women, and here in this training she got the chance to meet 3 other women who, like her, were eager to build a better future for themselves. So now we come to the third enabler. So the first was the social norms that we have, the construct, and obviously it is the patriarchal construct of the society. So often, it puts certain challenges And then we do have the second one was a kind of enabler, and this enabler is in the form of self-help group, but we need to be very cautious. We need to understand in what ways these groups are actually functioning, because uh, we find that the groups are playing a proactive role, uh, not only in terms of financial independence, but also the kind of the activism that women and possess when they become, because it gives them mobility, it gives them self assertion, it gives them the space, it enhances their capabilities, it provides them that space to assert themselves. And it is not only it is a kind of linkage between the private and public sphere. So we need to be cautious, we need to be careful, and we need to see that which context, which particular state, which region are we talking about, and then what about the specific self-help group and the role that it is playing. Third is the collaboration, because when you go out and when you get the chance to meet other people, so it establishes a kind of commonality of experiences, because when we join a training program, when we attend a particular workshop, a session, so it's not only the upskilling, it's not only the particular skill that we get to learn, or a set of skills that we get to learn, it also enhances it develops the personality, it provides the chance to collaborate, to know about others' struggles, to know about others' stories, and then to explore the possibility whether something can be done together. So here the same happened in Nithya's life, and she joined with collaborated with these three women, and together they formed a partnership and soon bagged their first major order. So creating, what was this order? They created 600 signboards for the local panchayat worth 15 lakh rupee. Today, Nithya and her business partners run a full-fledged construction enterprise, and they have also employed other women from their village. So this brings us to the fourth point, that when you get some kind of abilities, power, you elevate yourself. So it's not your individual, it's not only my capabilities or my sense of purpose or my sense of fulfillment. It must it must spread out. So how do I connect to other people, how do I connect to how the larger social context, other people in my immediate context, this also becomes important. So the project, this coming back to this project, Tamil Nadu Rural Transformation Project, the project began, since it began, what do we see, that some 28,700 new enterprises have been started across the state. In addition, more than 11,600 trainees have found employment in local enterprises, providing sustainable livelihoods to people in rural settings and strengthening the rural economy. Coming to another case study, and this is of Shyama Devi. So from Tamil Nadu, now we are coming to Uttarakhand. So who belongs to Fatehpur village in the block Vikas Nagar of Dehradun. So here, unlike Nithya, she being uneducated, and so you will find a little bit of commonality, as I said, commonality in terms of experiences, commonality in terms of the socio-cultural context, the surroundings. So besides being uneducated, she lives in a village where usually women did not step out with the without the permission of their husbands, and same was the case with her. She managed to survive with her husband's earnings. However, situation became critical when he lost his job. Shyama Devi firmly took her own stand and joined a group of women being addressed by Krishi Vigyan Kendra and block officials on the importance of women self-help groups. So, what happens here that by gathering the information from KVK and other line departments, Shyama started her journey and she started educating her fellow women villagers about these groups, and then they formed Mahila Jagriti Samuh. A new self-help group was formed. So you see that it's not only about what an individual or a single woman puzzles, rather it is also about educating others. So working in solidarity, and this sense of solidarity elevates the purpose, the significance of the purpose, and it, because it constructs a common collective sense of purpose. So here the group, the self-help group that was being formed here, Mahila Jagriti Samuh, decided to contribute an amount of rupees 100 per month in the form of savings. However, this is important. With acute poverty, most of the members could not do so and went to block officers to withdraw their names from the Samuh. This brings us to another point, and this point is important because often poverty and this inability to come out of the vicious cycle of the poverty acts as one of the obstacles. So the same happened here, but with the block officers, officials and KVK coming to their help, coming forward, taking the proactive role and educating the women about this idea that how can Samuh be managed effectively, how can Samuh be managed successfully, and they made them aware about the different government schemes for their upliftment. Apart from this, these women members, they were also guided to follow the 5 rules of managing self-help groups, and these rules are weekly meetings, weekly savings, weekly loaning, correct loan return, and maintaining the records. Bookkeeping, maintaining the record is something which is very important, and this also tells us about this entire story or this incident that had happened in the life of Shyama Devi and other women. It tells us about the significance of monitoring, hand holding at the local level, because the small initiatives that are being taken up at the local levels has the possibility of creating the stories. So that is why we say that any single small list, a peck of initiative can create wonders, and it can create ripples, a single stone thrown in the water. So we must never underestimate the importance of the first step or a single step. It has the capacity to do wonders. So here also what happened, that the Krishi Vigyan Kendra helped the group members learn improved agricultural practices, learn many things. The KVK helped them learn many things, trained them in many skills, such as making handicrafts, handicraft items, making jute bags, or eco-friendly bags, we can say, block printing, packaging of food items, preservation techniques, value addition, etc. along with making them learn about the marketing of such products efficiently. Because making these products alone is not sufficient. If we are to establish, if we are going to establish an enterprise, marketing is also a significant and an important step where one needs to focus on, and one needs to divert energies to that particular sphere. So the KVK did help in sensitizing the women groups about government's various developmental schemes. The group also got attached with NRLM, National Rural Livelihood Mission. And this brings us to the significance of government's initiative, and we do have SRLM, State Rural Livelihood Mission, in different states. So under this, the group received an amount of rupees 1 lakh for its future endeavors. Shyama Devi as Samu president and a trained professional from KVK and Rural Self-Employment Training Institute, which is there as the title, and it is playing its own role. So she trains other women as a trained professional who receive training from the institute and different institutes, and training women not from her own village but also going to other villages in her district as well. So as now she is there as a successful entrepreneur, and she is also there as a change agent. Coming to the third story from Gujarat, what do we see here? That Pabiben Rabri, from the arid landscapes of Kutch to the global stage, Srimati Pabiben Rabri's story is one of resilience, innovation and cultural pride. Once a pastoralist earning just rupees 1 per day, she is now the founder of pabiben.com, a thriving handicraft brand that employs over 300 women and has received funds of rupees 50 lakh at Shark Tank India. Despite the struggles that she had during childhood and fighting against all these odds that she had in her life, she never lost sight of the cultural context and what can be done out of it. And we see that she innovated a groundbreaking embroidery technique, Hari Jari, symbolizing the transformation of Rabri stitching into a global phenomena. So this particular stitch, and the stitch got popular, and then there are many people and reaching not only at the national level only but also going to the global levels. So for livelihood support, we see that once she used to work for rupees 1 per day by fetching water, and then how she gets transformed to becoming a successful social entrepreneur. So her journey gained national attention, and then we see that she displays this unique blend of traditional Rabri embroidery and modern e-commerce. Her enterprise redefines rural transformation and offers a blueprint for women across Gujarat, and obviously to all those areas where we have those distinct cultural cultural art forms, different art forms, and we need to put efforts in promoting that. So those handicrafts, those distinct identity associated forms of art are there, and we need to see how can those be promoted. So we see that elevating rural artistry, she continues to empower women, sustain heritage, and prove that creativity and courage can transform lives, because her efforts are not limited to her own life, rather going out to inspire others and making a difference in the lives of other women also. Then we have the fourth story, which brings us to the urban landscape, and this story is of Swati Bhargava. Uh, Navigating the digital landscape. As a co-founder of Cash Karo and Earn Karo, the cashback and marketing platforms, she stands at the forefront of India's tech-driven business landscape. So here we find this intersection between technology and enterprise development. She featured in Fortune India's 40 Under 40 and CNBC TV India's Top Young with Business Women. And coming to her journey, she realized that Indians were becoming increasingly active toward, the online shopping, online patterns. Virtual presence is something which is very strong in terms of, retail, shopping, and e-commerce. But there was still an apparent deficiency in how they benefit from shopping digitally. The platform started with an alliance with major e-companies. The usual fundraising problem and convincing stakeholders for a new consumer behavior to be introduced in the market, Indian market. So this was obviously one of the challenges in front of her. But uh, she developed strategies to overcome those challenges. So, with all these stories, with all these narratives of strength, challenges, struggles, adopting different strategies, adopting context specific strategies, and strategies which are obviously dependent on many other factors which are there in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So it and that is why we say that it can't be studied, it can't be understood in isolation. Journey of an individual is always placed, it always needs to be contextualized, need to be understood in collaboration, with many other phenomena, because it's not a single phenomena, rather we have those multiplicities of factors that we need to pay attention to. So what do we see here? That it's not a few stories, rather many such stories of resilience, success, hard work, struggle. And sometimes these stories are unheard also. We the stories that did not get space, and we are not familiar. It might be the case that we are not familiar with those stories, but there are women out there struggling, finding a way out. And the women who and this and obviously not only finding a way out, but also reflecting the fact that how an idea from personal experience can germinate into, can transform into a life changing venture. And this venture is something which touches others, either directly or indirectly, and thereby making these women true role models for aspiring entrepreneurs anywhere. Thank you.